Welcome to the second installment, second part of the Maróczy um, structure. So last time we looked at some plans for white, if you remember. We checked some plans for the white pieces. This one I think you remember, right, guys? You remember this one? What was the best move here? I'll just ask for one move. Tricky windmill and Zach Pan. You remember this. There was a game, by the way, the other day in this structure. Should I maybe show that to you? There was a game like this. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, which was a little similar to this. I don't know if someone saw this, but it was slightly similar. Let me see. Give me just one moment. Try to find it. Good work. Yeah, Benny wanted to give the check on d4. By the way, when you play next week the thematic tournament, you might run into this. We might run into this. How to meet the check on d4, you would ask. So one of my theories here, I'm not sure. Yeah, here maybe e5 is okay. On this occasion, I think e5 is okay, and we have this plan of sending the knight to d4. But I know that on other occasion, if you imagine that somehow, let's say these two moves are on the board, let's say f4, and I'll play some move with black, let's say. I guess queen b6 is tempting, but we'll play something else, let's say like that. So if you get this position, my belief is that sometimes you can go back with the king simply. But on other occasions, you play something like this. And you build some kind of, yeah, exactly, tricky windmill. I would say some kind of bunker for the king, like in the wars. You create some kind of bunker for the king, and you try to resist on those squares, and if they push f5, you just stay calm and so on. Or sometimes you could even play g5. I'm not really an expert on this, but I think that's one approach at least. Of course, they could break with e5 instead, and then you have all kind of tactical situations. Maybe you can play like bishop c6. So, let's listen to tricky windmill. When in doubt, I play king g8 not to weaken myself. But if queen b6 is arriving fast with counterplay, then f6 is good. I see. So I see your point. If you play like that, I guess we need to be a little careful also about moves like that. But I think as long as you remember to trade off the knight on d5, as long as you can do that, then it's probably okay to play this with black also. But I have seen on a number of occasions that they actually play the ugly move f6 if you run into this situation. Anyway, back to our initial position. Tricky windmill, you will have to tell us what was white's best move here. So unusual move, right? We're saying don't trade too many pieces when using the Maróczy bind. But as we said last time, and as Tricky windmill is saying here also, there are exceptions now. The e2 bishop is probably our worst minor piece on most occasions. And I was mentioning that in the Sicilian what's the name of it, Moscow, we have this situation, right? Why did we do this? I don't remember right now what happened later in the game, but he played for an attack later in this game. What happened in the game? Should I look up that quickly perhaps? What did he play in the game? They took, and after queen c8, what should we do with the queen? Yeah, exactly, Jazz. 4, 1, and 0. Somehow it favors the white side. We go back with the queen. In the game, he played queen e2. My theory, tricky, is that he wants to put the queen on b2 on some occasion, maybe later. Now, this is what we looked at last time. And he put the rook here. He brought the other rook, I think. And then he had nice attacking chances. Maybe black shouldn't have used that rook. In this game, Van den Duel with white and black was mark, or he played something like that, and then he played knight d5, and he played f4, and he went for an attack. So that's what happened last time. Please notice what happened here. When black played queen c8, we don't trade. We go back with the queen. How did the middle game? Yeah, so that's what was my next point here, Tricky. If we load this game, which was played in the women's Grand Prix, Mojsiczuk versus Dagnice the other day. So Dagnice played a6, but what we're talking about is this kind of position, right? Something like this, where you could get these positions. How would you play? Is it c4 first? I'm not really an expert on this either, but something like that, I guess, right? You go d4 and they play g6. So you would basically get the same kind of positions, something like that, maybe. Yeah, I'm just playing out the moves the way I know them, no, something like that. So I think having traded the light square bishop helps white a bit, because you don't have that bad bishop anymore. Helps white a bit, but maybe. Anyway, yeah, you won't reach this unless you play bishop g4 in our thematic tournament, because in our thematic tournament we will start from this position. I think we will start from. Is that where we start? I think we start from here. This is our starting position, because I wanted some of you to get a chance to play. If you want to play without bishop g7, you could play the Gurgenidze setup, right? If you want to do that with black, you're entitled to do that. No, if they play this here before they play bishop e3, you take on d4 and you play bishop g7. Yeah, you remember this, right? The Gurgenidze setup, quite popular. We had this, for instance, in the game. You can check Weiji versus Anton in the last Olympiad, for instance. There was a game like that. Anyway, so I'm just saying what we're talking about right now, getting these positions in the Moscow. It's not so relevant for our tournament, because we will start from, what was it? From this position, yeah. Anyway, so this game was Zagnitze versus Zagnitze. I just want to tell you that, yeah, Zagnitze played a6, and miraculously they ended up playing the Maróczy. Look what happened. Somehow they got to this kind of position anyway, like this. So there you are. You see how similar this is to the game that we were looking at. They got almost the same thing. This is in the game that they played, Musicuk and Zagnitze. And if you go back to our previous example, you have the same piece configuration, right? By the way, King G8 was played when the Czech, like, tricky windmill said, right? So yeah, strange way they found their way to the Maróczy. But the moment I wanted to single out, yeah, everybody notices here the similarity, right? If I go back to the previous example that we just looked at, let's see here. Sorry, I have to go back to Thursday now. Back to Thursday. So when he played bishop g4 and they got to this position, you can see it's very much the same piece configuration, same pawn structure, and so on. Many things are similar here. All right, back to the game we were just looking at, the game, Musicuk's game. So back to what did we have here? So she arrived at this position like that, and the moment I wanted to single out was around here. So question for everybody: trade or keep? What did we learn? Aha, keep. Okay, we're on the same page then. We're also on the same page with Anna Musicuk. Yeah, so she played queen d2 here, good move. And then she actually played like what Vinnik used to do. You remember we talked about a few different things. What did we talk about? Very briefly last time. Then we should get on with the next thing that we're looking at here. Let me go back to Thursday again. We checked a few different things. We started with this. We said, yeah, anyone remembers what was black's after knight f1? What did the great what Vinnik played? You get two moves here to find, okay? I'll only give you 30 seconds for the two moves. Try to play them in the right order. Ararat and Vish and Titan and Chessart and Tricky and Xalicia, Freya, Rohan. Some of you want to trade the bishop on h3. Yeah, we talked about that last time. I won't go over this again. I'm sorry, guys. We had a class on this already. I just wanted to refresh your memory on this, right? Two important moves that Botvinnik played here with the black pieces, right? Here it's black who's launching the Maróczy bind. Okay, Ararat, please raise your hand so that you can show us. You were fastest on this occasion. Please raise your hand and you can, thank you, and you can show us what Vinnik played. We talked about this. Yeah, you can probably play exactly. If you play bishop g4 here, maybe I'm just guessing. No, maybe white would actually trade off, or maybe with other knights, sorry, and trade off a bunch of pieces. Maybe you don't want that to happen. No, so I think it's better, like Ararat says, to play knight e4, and after queen d1, now they play bishop g4. And we said the point of this was just to create some kind of provocation on white side. Finally, if white takes, he took with e pawn and then he started an attack on the king side. But you could also take with the c pawn and play the endgame. We said both were fine. But please notice the two key moves here: knight e4, bishop g4. Key moves in this structure. What else did we talk about? Coming back to the Thursday class, what else? Yeah, that was basically it, right? That was the most important part, I think. We talked about gaining space also. Yeah, we had this game, for instance, that we checked. And we said that it was important for white to gain space. Black had played bishop e6. Why was that perhaps not fully ideal? Anyone remembers? How can we slightly punish the move bishop e6? There was like a punishment here about gaining space. Exactly, Yugoslavian Titan and Galicia and RKDK and so on. Aha, that's what they played here. Yeah, 95, maybe I would take on e4 and claim that I can survive. Yeah, Freya, you're right in front of me, so you will have to tell me, what did white play here? Aha, it comes with tempo. Yeah, now we have this coming on some occasions, right? The computer just loves to play like that. As a human, I'm slightly thinking twice about it now because I give up the square also. But it's nice, for instance, that 97 is probably impossible now, right? Because the bishop is stuck on e6. So f4, I think, is the best move. By the way, these moves, 95, always careful with this. Check if you can take. I think on this occasion you can actually take because you can go back with the knight. But it should always be checked, right? So f4 was played in this game. And later on, he actually also, he gained more space. No, he gained more space. He played, they played a6, and I think he soon gained more space. Yeah, he defended the pawn, but later he tried to expand. You see, he tried to expand. There came the next move. So this we also talked about. So these are like three different plans now. One, to gain space. Two, to play 95. And we have this provocation idea with bishop d5. And maybe the fourth plan with white, we could say. It's the plan that we discussed. Trade off the pieces and get to a scenario where you have this piece configuration and you start going for an attack with f4 and so on. So anyway, back to Anna Muzicuk, to the game that was played last week or something like that. Or this week maybe it was. I don't remember. But in any case, so she had this position with white. And I think based on that, after she dodged the trade of queens, queen d2, now she played one of these typical moves. So anyone, what's the typical move that you think Anna Muzicuk played? That's right, Run Ninja and Jazz and Chess Crusher and Viz and Titan and Phineas, Rad, Zachpan, who else? Yeah, many other students here. Rohan, John Drip, Tricky, Ararat, Goldfish, Richard. Yeah. Good moment for that move, right? Please remember, no trade of queens, please. No trade of queens. If you're sitting on the white side of this battle. So yeah, we can ask Smart Goldfish. You can tell us, what would you play here with white pieces, Goldfish? Now she played it, 95. Yeah, I guess if I take this pawn, I'm in trouble, right, Goldfish? What would you play here? Yeah, this looks horrible. Right? Or what do you think? Was that a free pawn? Anyone? We have like complete silence in the chat. Yeah, I think so. Very smart. Queen e2. If you take, maybe you make things more complex, right? Maybe they get some chance. I don't know. Some crazy tactics like that, perhaps. I'm just guessing. Or maybe you can see something smarter here. Maybe like rook c7. I don't know. But very clever to play queen e2 first to keep it in the pocket now. This move, knight. So black must be losing the exchange here as a minimal. Exactly. So yeah, good work by also Alan and Tori and everyone else who saw this. Yeah, perfect. So 95 was played, and after knight takes d5, let me quiz the next move here. I just want to make sure we avoid any misunderstandings. Yeah, exactly. RKDK and Tricky. Yeah, that's important. You don't want the rook endgames when you're sitting with a Maróczy bind, usually, no? You should have a good reason to enter a rook endgame. Or yeah, any endgame at all. We would like to keep the queens on. And if you take with c, you allow me to trade off pieces. So please, Daniel Best, please go ahead. Show us, Daniel. You can take in three different ways, but we should take with e because this allows us to later go for an attack. So had you taken with the queen, it's like very boring to play. Black should be perfectly fine here and start looking for counterplay maybe, depending on how white takes, of course. And if you take with the pawn, I guess you put the queen somewhere. I don't know, queen here maybe. And black has enough counterplay. It's a distraction for white, of course, the a file. There is a nice game by Ding Liren. Ding beats another Chinese grandmaster in the Maróczy structure like that. We saw that game, I think. We saw it in the space disadvantage class. I don't know if anyone remembers that space disadvantage class. or maybe nobody remembers. Nobody knows what I'm talking about, probably. Can I find it? I will share it very quickly, but then we should get on with the next examples. Let me see if I have it here somewhere. I know Ding was playing black and white was also from China, and it's about space. Yeah, can I find this example here very quickly? I would love to share it with you, but let me see if I have it here somewhere. Yeah, patience is a gift, so please be a little patient. Let's check again. Ding Liren. I'm pretty sure he was sitting on the black side. Space. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, no, white is from Singapore. Yeah, Zhang Zhong. We saw this game, I think, right? This one. Yeah, this head game is very nice. Tricky. You're saying Ding is one of my favorite players. So he won this with black. You say it's a Maróczy, right? It's a Maróczy where he actually built the bunker for the king, it seems. So he managed to win this game with black. Did you see it? Anyone saw this endgame? We won't go over it in great detail now. I just want you to understand that you can actually win it. I want to see it. Okay, maybe you want to study it more detailed way later. So I'll first share the names now. Zhang Zhong with white, Ding Liren with black, Chinese team 2022. That's where you can look up this game. What did he do? He used the queen like for infiltration. That you remember, guys. We talked about infiltration some time ago. Sorry, infiltration. We said that the lesser number of pieces on the board, the less of an advantage, a space advantage. Yeah, something like that. Sorry about bad English and so on. But the more crowded the board, the better if you have a lot of space, because your opponent's pieces will be a little limited, right? And we said also that the queen is the best piece for exploiting the opponent's space or something like that. So he did the infiltration. He sent the queen over, and yeah, look, nice maneuver, right? He put the queen in the middle, and later on he did something. No trade, of course. If you trade queens, that's very bad, right? Because it gives white chances of, I don't know, is there any chance of breaking through? Probably not. But anyway, no way to let white's king get close. So black might even lose. Yeah, I'm not sure, but it's crazy to do that, of course. The queens have to stay. And then he was able to win this later on. Yeah, white made mistakes, of course. A computer would never lose and so on. He brought up the king like that, and he managed to win this game. Don't enter the minefield. Yeah, you're a good student, Freya. Yeah, don't go for the queen endgame. So he was a king pawn endgame. So he was able to win this somehow later. Yeah, Ding won this. You see, it's already unpleasant for white now. All kind of checks you need to be checking, and also the king would like to get closer. Yeah, hi Greg, good to see you. Yeah, we're looking at something from the Maróczy structure. Don't forget, tell Greg if you're still not in the club, right? You have to, you must sign up. You must sign up for the club to play the tourney next week. Okay? So no complaining next week that I'm not in the club. Can you please sign me up? No, you need to do that now. So yeah, Greg, I think he's in Japan, right? So it's morning in Japan. How interesting. Aha. So yeah, he went on to win this game. Speaking of other time zone, Ding Liren managed to win this game later. So interesting, no? You see what I mean? It's actually possible to win this kind of endgame, but you need to have a lot of patience, of course. So anyway, back to Anna Muzichuk. What were we talking about? We were saying that white should take with a pawn on d5, and that's what they did in this game. She took with the pawn instead. No trade. That's the connection with the Ding game, right? We said that if black is able to trade the rooks and so on, we can end up like in Ding's game. So e takes d5, and black got some counterplay, but white was better in this game. You see, she's already looking in this direction. She's playing for an attack here, and so on. Yeah, okay, we don't need to see the whole game, but you get the picture, right? By the way, so one interesting moment here in this game, one last interesting moment. If you're sitting with the black pieces here, black is under pressure. Any possible solution for black here? Aha, you're right, Kind King Sam. She played e5 here, exactly. So I think this was the right choice by Zagnitsa. She played the right move. Else it's just getting suffocated here, right? Queen g5, h5, things like that. Extremely unpleasant, no? If you end up like that. So I think she did the right thing, but now she got some weaknesses and later on white had initiative and so on. Yeah, actually in this game there is a connection with the minefield later. You can have that as what can I say? You can do this as a little exercise. Yeah, something went wrong here. Black made some mistakes. This was an interesting move that she played, toying with the mating idea, right? If I take with a rook, anyone, what would white play? Tell me quickly, please. What would you play with white? Johan, I think you're right. Rook e3 is very dangerous for black. I think that's why she played. Correct me if I'm wrong, or no, or maybe not, or maybe trick is right. It's rook b1. Else, why didn't she play that instantly? No, I think the point is to play rook e3, because if you played rook e3 instantly, maybe black can play king h8, and here I can move my queen somewhere, right? Let me know if I missed something, no? But if you include the move, oh, really? King Sam, you have the engine on, so this was a mistake then, I guess. c5. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, sorry. Oh, you know the story, King Sam. You know the story. So this did not work. I just thought maybe I had some extra chances with a check or something. Oh, I see. So it was not correct then what she did. Anyway, it brings about an interesting situation. Yeah, later. Here. This is homework. Homework for April, all right? White's best move. Happy pawn. Congratulations. You have found the best move. White's best move and detailed winning plan. Believe me, this one is very tricky. Rook e8 forces transposition to a pawn endgame. We enter the minefield, and white is winning that pawn endgame. Yeah, but the last part, to win the pawn endgame, you need to show that in great detail. Anyway, I will switch topic now. I just wanted everybody to see the connection with our topic, that they enter this kind of position from a different move order, but they ended up almost like in Van den Dul's game. And queen d2, please remember, no queen trade, please, in this structure. And then go knight e5 whenever you can, and take with the e-pawn and start some attacking business on this side. And if you're sitting on the black side, oh, you're analyzing this already. Yeah, don't do that now. Let's focus on the Maróczy, right? And if you're playing black and you have this kind of situation, always consider the move e5. Even if you lose a pawn, it might be worth it now to liberate yourself with the move e5. Okay, we are now, after this small introduction, we are ready for today's topics, okay? So we will talk very quickly about some plans for the black side, apart from those that we have already seen, trading pieces and so on. Let's go for some fresh plans in this structure. We will start with this one. Hossein with white and Kaustuv with black. I think it's a game which was played in India. Okay. Anyone, tell me if you... yeah, that's a good plan. You're right, Happy Pawn. If you can arrange this knight versus that bishop, we touched upon this also. If you can arrange that, it's just fantastic. White should not allow that, no? White's favorite scenario is probably this knight versus that bishop instead. Anyway, let's talk a little about this. A few candidates with black. We have one here already. f5, another is knight e5. You have to be specific, Freya. There are two knights which can go to e5. I cannot really tell which one you mean. This one maybe? Queen a5 and so on. The queen actually just arrived here, I think. So knight c5 says Ararat. That's a very typical maneuver, by the way. This maneuver is really important in the Maróczy to play like that. You can do that many times. However, in the game, he played a move that nobody has proposed. If you play f5, I was curious. I checked this also. It seems white will be slightly better here. Usually against f5, you should take. And this appears to have been a good move. Anyone, what's the point with knight b5? Why? Phineas. Exactly. Knight. You're right, King Sam. You could, in this way, try to bring the knight to d5 now. So black could stop this. And here the computer said, gain space. So how can white gain space here? Somebody quickly. How can we gain space with white? Now we can play a3. I don't know on this side. I think it's better like he said. Try to gain some space on this side. And also we removed Ararat's plan with knight c5. They cannot do that anymore. Yeah, what would you play next here? I don't know. Move the rook maybe, so you can put the knight on d5. I'm just guessing. No, I'm just guessing. Maybe that's not a good move. Maybe you can play knight e4 instead and trade off some pieces or something. But I would like to wait for them to play a6. Anyway, yeah, I wouldn't play f5. Also f4, I don't play it when I have my rooks on this side, right? Please look a little at where you have your pieces. If your piece is on the queen side, it probably means that we should play on the queen side. No, I'm just guessing. No, else Else I would have the rooks on that side maybe, and then I would go for this action. So anyway, we were just looking a little at what happens here if black plays f5, which is certainly in the spirit of the position, but white might be slightly better still after this move. So what happened in the game? Yeah, he played first knight b6. Rook c8 is another very logical move. I agree. You could have played that also. His move is slightly more forcing. I guess maybe white is planning. Yeah, I'm thinking. No, I'm actually not so sure. I don't know what white's planning. Rook b1 maybe, knight c2, something like that. So if rook c8, maybe I could play rook b1. Is that the best move maybe? I'm getting ready to bring my knight to c2, and then I don't know what I'll do. Try to push away the queen perhaps. But his move is very forcing because he's actually hitting the pawn on c4. So white made a bad choice here. White made a bad choice. So white felt the pressure. And the computer came up with a very interesting idea here. The computer said, we should just play the move rook c2. You can see, sometimes the engine can be anti-materialistic. Anyway, why does the computer propose this move rook c2? Why? He's hanging a pawn, isn't he? Hard to explain, no? No, it can be taken. It can be taken. So learning with Stockfish. No, learning with Stockfish. He likes this. He likes this. You're right. Yeah, knight b6 gives more options. Now we play knight e5. And the line goes like this. Yeah, black doesn't lose anything. I'm not getting forked. I can put my queen here. He just said white was having compensation here, b4 and so on. So yeah, I think so. Like prophylactic engine thinking, probably. And also it's inviting black to take the pawn. I think he wants to bring the rook there and go back with a knight or something like that. And then he will start this business with a3, b4. That was the computer's line. He's also saying that if black plays rook c8, now you can play knight e5, our favorite move, right? You can go for knight e5 and you can claim a slight advantage, he was saying here. Well, I don't know, like that. What do you think, guys? It looks interesting for black also, no? Doesn't look that bad. Yeah, they're too good, I agree. Very tricky situation, no? I would say on the board, for most people, it's very hard to play this move after the opponent played knight b6. But if you can keep in mind that sometimes you can give up this pawn, maybe it can be useful for you. I know there is a line in the Sicilian in the, yeah, I will have to show that some other day, but the line where you play quickly, yeah, like this line, like this line. If somebody can help me out, maybe it's even better. In this line where white against the Najdorf, when you try to build, you know this line where you play f3 and then you play c4. I know that in this line there is something like that. You give up this pawn on some occasion, like you put the knight here and they play like that. If anyone knows this, you can tell me. You let them take this pawn and you have a great game. I don't know how that happens though. Yeah, I cannot tell. Like rook here and somehow you just give away this pawn. You used to play that Titan. Yeah, you should know that. There is one line where you just give up this pawn and you get, oh, I'm being stupid. It must be the knight on, it must be on like that, right? Yeah, I'm being stupid here. This is, of course, how it goes. Right, Titan? Something like that? Like this, and they play rook c8, and you just give the pawn for some reason here. Yeah, I don't know how, you don't play knight e5 here. You play something like queen d2, and they take, and you get good compensation. Yeah, when I do it, it doesn't look very impressive, though. No, I think I got it wrong. But anyway, supposedly there was a line like that where you could just give up this pawn, but I think I didn't get it right. So let's come back to our example instead. So very quickly, we are back on track. They played in the game knight b6, hitting the pawn on c4. You could have done it from e5, but I think the point is that you want to have the bishop open, right? For just in case now there is some tactical opportunity like knight c2, you can take on b2, and this is still hanging. No, I don't know if you see what I mean. If you play knight here, maybe, I don't know, can white play like that? No, probably not, right? You can take anyone. This is not working. No, I fall into one of the cheapest tricks in this opening. Aha, you're right, guys. You can take on f3, right? Something like that, and you can take on c3. Yeah, careful with this bishop. No, it has it has participated in many tactical tricks in this opening. So anyway, knight b6, knight d1 was played by white. That was not a good idea. All right, guys, it's your turn. Let me play out a few moves, and let's see if we can get this right. You get 1 minute. Yeah, you're close, RKDK. I will play rook AB1 there. I will play rook AB1. Titan plays knight d4. Yeah, that's a good move also. Requiz also likes that move. You have many candidate moves, many tempting moves. But the Grandmaster did actually not play any of those tempting moves. He kept them in the pocket. Oh, everybody wants to play knight a4. I see. Interesting. Yeah, I don't think it's bad. Lily, your move was played, but a little later. Aha. So far, nobody played like Kaustov in the game. But, oh, you used the other rook. I can see here. Who put the rook there? Wait a little. Who put the other rook? So, Tricky and Ararat, you're putting the other rook on c8. Yeah, you could do that, but then you lose slightly preparation for the other plan. Yeah, we will come to that. We will come to that. So who was closer? I got like a billion different moves here. Yeah, Bishop d4 was even proposed. Some guys of you have really good tactical talent. No, you play like that. I think I will just take in that case, and I will play this endgame. I know I have the wrong bishop, but I'll find a way to create counterplay here at some stage. Yeah, maybe I can come back with a knight and then try to gain space or something. But yeah, many impossible moves here. Yeah, Bishop d4 is a very funny move. I didn't think of that at all. Zach Pan and Santos and Pop Fisher, you were very close. You can tell us, Zach Pan, you can tell us what was your line, because you're very close. So they took on d2. And here we have many candidates. So he played rook c8. Okay, let's go step by step. We could play knight a4, but then they probably go rook b1, and then they play b3. Yeah, the pawn was hanging, right? So we need to protect it. You could play knight d4. In that case, I think I'll play bishop f1. But the moment you commit one of these two pieces, you also lose some of the pressure, right? Like you would say, the knight is putting pressure here. When you move the knight, you don't have pressure on this pawn anymore. When you play knight d4, you improve the knight, but you also block the bishop and so on. So every move has like some disadvantage. No, rook fc8 is possible, but then you can't play exactly in the same way as in the game. Yeah, you'll see what I mean. Rook c8, white played at this stage rook b1, so white wanted to play b3. Aha, Santos. Yeah, you're right. Okay, Santos and John Drip. Okay, John Drip, you can show us. What did black play at this stage? So we talked about this just 3 moves ago, but now it's a completely different situation. Now this move is very clever because the knight just left the building. And now you understand why we used this rook. Because if white does nothing here, we can of course take, and then we're very happy that, yeah, apart from white's horrible pawn structure, we're also happy that we have the f-file open, right? I played f5 without rook ac8. Yeah, I guess it does now. But I mean, look at what happens here, Jazz. f5 becomes stronger when the rook is on that diagonal, right? If you see what I mean. He was like waiting a little to see what the opponent would play. Maybe if white played something else here, I don't know. Can we come up with some other move? I can't come up with many moves though. Knight b5 maybe. Can I play that? I feel like this pawn is going down now. Like you have knight e5 or knight e4. Knight e4 wins the pawn perhaps, or no? It's very close to winning the pawn at least. It's in big danger, this pawn. You would have to do some tactical miracles here, like bishop e3 maybe. But you can just go back with the bishop maybe, if you see what I mean. And this is still hanging. So you have to take. That's ugly now to take like that. We can't play b3 because of this, right? So it looks bad for white in any case. So I think he's just waiting a little. He's waiting to see white's next step here. That's why he didn't play f5. Now if you play it, it's probably not a crime. I think I would take, look what happened. Your bishop is not touching this pawn anymore. I can maybe play bishop c3. Oh, I cannot. You win the exchange. Oh, bad idea. Sorry. I'll have to play knight c3 then, I guess, right? Or something. But it looks ugly for white now. So I think we can give you half a point if you play f5. It doesn't look bad in any case. Yeah, everything looks good. But I like his way of thinking. He's waiting for white to commit also. White plays rook b1 to play b3 and finally being able to move the knight somewhere. And then he pushes f5. So yeah, many choices here, many choices. Maybe not perfect, but I think it's very, very pleasant now, very pleasant. So white had big troubles here. They played knight c3. Every move means something. This means that the pawn is not protected by the rook anymore. Anyone, what would you play with black here, quickly, so we can continue? Knight e4. Of course, we're punishing the previous move of our opponent, right? I don't want to bore you now, but if you play knight d4 here, I go back with the bishop. And if you play f5 now, maybe I can do something different after this. Although it's not clear to me what that will be. Actually, this looks very good also. Yeah, I don't know what I will play here. It looks horrible for white. Still good. Yeah, I think you're right. We could have flipped the move order also. It would work perfectly. So in any case, yeah, nice move 94 because now the pawn is hanging. And yeah, white was in big trouble. Now he takes, of course, you cannot take back. With the pawn, he had to take like that. And he played. Yeah, we don't need to see the rest maybe. He played 97, very logical. Now we can't hit the pawn anymore. Now we send the knight towards this square. Now try to avoid this pawn structure with white next week, right? This is just a disastrous structure with the pawn on e4 like that. Okay, the game continued like that. Yeah, this was, it makes me cry now, white's position here. It's horrible now. So much threats coming up now on that side. Yeah, this was complete nightmare. Yeah, black took their time and went on. He was playing very, how would you say, methodically. And finally he won the game here with this smart tactic. So anyway, that's the first thing I wanted to show. Knight b6, hitting the pawn, white's best move, strange computer move, prophylactic thinking somehow, and we give up this pawn and we're okay. In the game, they play 91 and black quickly stroke with f5. Extremely strong in this case, like that. However, not as strong if played instantly here. If you play f5 here, it's not the same thing, right? We were saying that maybe we can take and we can play this move knight b5, trying to improve with the knight somehow. So it depends also. Okay, let's continue. Let's take our next example. Let's take a slightly older example. This game was played when Petter Heine Nielsen was playing the World Championship under 20. So that was some time ago. So Anakov with white and Nielsen with the black pieces. You can see that Nielsen has probably played the, well, I'm not sure. It looks like the Gurgenidze variation because this knight has been traded already. So black has 3 minor pieces, a good what would you say, piece configuration for them, right? Good piece configuration. More space for the knights and so on. Although in the previous example, there were actually 4 of them. So the pawn is hanging. White played at this point b3, protecting the pawn. And the next move, those of you who are good with, what's the name of this? The Maróczy, you can easily see this this little trick that black used. So, all right, you get 1 minute for this little trick that you can use in the Maróczy. 97 gets half a point. Yeah, sure. He didn't play that Heine. He must have had a reason for that, right? Because you actually forced the trade of knights, so of bishops, sorry. So I don't know. We'll have to ask him. I guess I take it. I play f4, and I hope I can attack you. So Zachpan and Tricky and Rohan and Freya, are you sure we should trade queens? 100% sure. I know it's not natural. We always say that black is defending in this opening and so on. But maybe it's white's king which is actually weaker at that point. So we have other students who want to keep the queens, like Yugoslavian, Happy Pawn, Daniel, Cesart, and Lily. You keep the queens on. Aha. By the way, this did not happen in the game. It's just a variation that we are looking at, right? But it's good to know this trick. We just looked at the f5 break. You can see that on this occasion, we are not very interested in playing f5. Here, yeah, we're not going for f5 in this structure, probably. 97 is very reasonable. I cannot go back with the bishop, unfortunately, because this is hanging. I guess if I were white, I would just play like that and try to attack them somehow, put the queen there and so on. But black should be safe here. Maybe you can build the bunker with f6 and store the bishop on f7 or something like that. Why not trade queens? We will come to that, John Drip. Chess is not so simple for anyone. You'll see. We will come to that. Any other moves to be considered? I don't think so. So you can show us Yugoslavian Berserker. You were fastest here. You can show us the nice trick that Petter Heine used here. After b3, he played b5. Yeah, of course I cannot take. I'm hanging my queen. If I take with the c pawn, what about knight h5? Oh, sorry. What about knight h5? Not very typical in this structure, I would say. Maybe you allow me to play f4, and then you will have to take and go back with the knight. Like that, maybe. I mean, else I'm going to take it. If you let me take it, I'm very happy now to get that If you play some other move here, yeah, like building the bunker or something, I would take and play this kind of position. This is nice for white. This knight versus that bishop. You could play like Anna Muzitsuk maybe, 95. If they take, you can bring the rook over and so on. So I wouldn't play knight h5. Maybe we should go back to what happened in the game, all right? To a natural, yeah, probably. Please go ahead again, Yugoslavian. Yeah, you were showing this. You can show us again. So b5, I have to take with the pawn, and if I want to take it, now comes the trick here. We take on e4. This time I can take and protect my queen, but unfortunately, my bishop will fall in the end. Exactly. Yeah, total disaster for white. So this didn't happen, of course. Aha. So what can I do then with white? I have to take like that. We take, and here, some of you want to take with the queen. I'll give you my opinion. Whoever said this, John Drip was complaining about this. So two things to take into account when trading queens. You would say one, king safety, right? Let's say I take with a rook, yeah. Whose king is safest? If you ask me, black's king is safest by now. One, because there are no pawns over here. And two, the second rank is also a bit shaky. Exactly, Rohan. White's king is weaker, so queen should be preserved. But the other argument is that if we trade off the queens, maybe not right now, but a little later, maybe white gets a chance to create a pass pawn on this side. And then it can be very useful for them that queens are off. Less counterplay for black and so on. Maybe not right now. I don't know. I would play maybe with white, rook c1 perhaps. I don't know. You would play rook here. I would trade and I would try to make these pawns. I mean, I would at least look at this. If I were playing blitz, for instance, John Drip, I would look at this. I would be slightly nervous with black, but maybe I'm wrong. No, I haven't calculated any of this. But you see my point, right? I'm trying to create a pass pawn. So if the end game, I can't say it's favorable for white. I'm just saying there is a risk. There is a risk with this pawn running, like a pawn break and so on. So I think it's correct to keep the rooks in. You can check statistics. Check statistics. There are games here. Most games, I think, so queen takes e3, but rook takes e3. I think it had the engine's blessing, and usually the engine is right. So you can check it, and you can tell me next week, John Drip or anyone else. You can tell me about this, but I think this is the right choice here. Yeah, please notice b4 does not take my rook, right? I can go here or I can go there. Preferably this side, I think, so we don't allow them to play a4. Oh, you want to play queen c7? Yes. Yeah, sure. Rook c2 may be coming now, and so on. Anyway, let's continue. Yeah, b5, everybody sees that plan. In the game, Nielsen didn't have this fortune that the opponent would play like that. In the game, Anakov played instead b4. You can find games like this also, b4. Queen takes b4, rook b1, and he gets back the pawn. But as you can see by now, black is very happy now. You could see the second, no, two things. We said one thing, king safety, happy pawn. And we said two, endgame perspective, no? Like, if the opponent has powerful pass pawns, we're probably happy that queens are on the board. So here, departure of b pawns, nice squares. Weaknesses for white, you would say, maybe. Weaknesses for white on c4 and c5. I mean, c5 is not on white side of the board, but I will still consider this as a weakness. All right. Stronghold, maybe you can say. So black was better already in this position. Anyone, do you think Peter Heine traded the knights? What would you play with the black pieces here? Traded the bishop, maybe? He did actually not trade the bishop. I think his argument might have been he didn't want to allow white to straighten out the pawn structure. Maybe he had some other argument. He played knight e7. Yeah, I can't tell you exactly which one was best, but there is some logic to this, right? He would like to bring the knight to c5, and he keeps this move in the pocket. But I don't think it's a big mistake, though, if you took like that. Anyway, this is how the game went. White did not want to trade. I looked a little at this also. Bishop takes, king takes, queen d4. And there you go. Yeah, this time I did not play f6. I have king g8 in my notes. So I looked a little at this, and black takes, and if white takes like this, there was a funny maneuver here. Funny maneuver. Let's see who can find the funny maneuver. I'll give you just 30 seconds. Oh, we have some winners here. Yeah, exactly. Traded dark square bishop for white dark square bishop, John Drip. It's like an operation, no? Operation. Uh, like two-step operation. Operation. One, trade dark square bishops, and then two, trade the light square bishop for white's knight, right? Okay, we have many winners. Titan, Jazz, Santos, Tricky, Finia, Mecha, Can, King, John Drip, Alicia. So I'm just saying it's this two-step operation. First we trade the bishops and then we trade like that. Who was fastest here? I think it was Titan. Titan, you can raise your hand. Titan says you can raise your hand and you can show us the solution if you like. Oh, I can see Titan here, so no problem. So Queen F8, that's what we were talking about. Sending the queen over and you get this kind of endgame that I think Happy Pound mentioned. We're very happy to get this good knight versus bad bishop. Like, yeah, they can play like that. Maybe you put your rook here and later you will send a knight to c5. Or maybe that was something smarter. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't calculate, but something like that. Anyway, so you see what I mean? Like John Drip said, we're happy to trade off these bishops and then we want to trade off that knight. This could happen in this variation. What happened in the game? Yeah, after 97, White said, no way, I won't trade. And it's funny, but later, after knight c5, there you go. You see who woke up? Botvinnik is around. No, there you go again. And here Peter Heine writes. Peter Heine writes in, where? Because he's the one who invented the plan, I'm saying, John Drip. Or whoever, no, Princess, yeah, Princess. I'm saying that because it's Botvinnik's idea, I would say. Princess, Peter Heine writes in Experts versus the Sicilian. We are talking about 20 years ago. 20 years ago. Yeah, what did he write? He wrote many things, but he wrote something which was interesting. He said that in this kind of position, there is a trade that black is favored by. All right, who knows this trade? Yeah, Princess knew it. Good for you, Princess. Congratulations. Sarpan. He's talking about the game he played with Gulko, I think. Peter Heine Nielsen was black versus Boris Gulko. And there was this plan also. Good to know this plan. Maybe you can use it in the tournament next week, right? So many of you got this right. Yeah, Run Ninja, Tricky, Santos, Dada, Apple, John Drip, and so on. A lot of people got this right. We can ask student Jazz. Jazz, you can show us. What should black play here? How to deal with the pressure on this pawn? You could play many moves, of course. It's not even threatened, though. You could play, I don't know, what other moves you could play. Rook b8, maybe. But he played bishop f6 here. So what he knew was that in this structure, the king would be safer than ever, and white doesn't have the right tools to work on these weaknesses now. We have the monster knight and the sad bishop now. So, of course, Anakov did not take on f6. Oh, no, he did. Sorry, I'm misremembering. Yeah, he should have kept the bishops in any case. No, he took in the game. The rest of the game is very beautiful. Maybe you should look it up and study it. Yeah, in the end, he got some kind of magic, fantastic version of the King's Indian, no? Fantastic version of the King's Indian. Yeah, you would be fortunate if you got this on the board in the King's Indian. He went on to win this game later. Yeah, we don't need to see the whole game, but it was very beautiful. He brought up the king, and there was a nice Zugzwang situation in the end. He got to this position in the game. Let's see if somebody can figure out Heine's last move in the game. Okay, last move in the game. Oh, Jazz, how Chess Turnip, you know the answer already. Wow, you guys are geniuses. Chess Turnip, tell us, what's the best move here? And now explain to us, why would anyone play this move, Rook b7? Why? Or it's very simple, maybe. Yeah, Rook b6 too. Yeah, everybody understands. We want to play a6, but we know that they will play bishop d3, right? Protecting the bishop. So if you put your rook on b7, I play a random move. Now you can play a6, and when they play bishop here, you can take back because you have this protected, right? Actually, I don't know what you meant with rook b6 then, those of you who said rook b6. If I go a3, were you going to play a6 anyway? Well, you could probably win in some other way, but careful that this pawn is fixed now on the light square. So if I play that and you play like this, it might not be completely convincing. I mean, I don't know. I would try something like this maybe with white. So I think what he played in the game was more convenient, no? Rook b7. So classy move, no, classy move. Forced white's instant resignation because a6 comes next, right? Very nice game. You should look it up with more time. It's a little stressful here, right? We have other things to check and so on, but it's a very nice game. So anyway, back to business. We said b3, and I hope that by now everybody knows what was the best move in this position. Perfect. We had many winners here. Johan, you can tell us. What did we learn from this? Whenever you have a chance to play b5, we should probably take that chance. Play b5. Good move to play in general in the Maróczy. All right, let's pick another example quickly. Another expert on this opening line is the grandmaster from Venezuela, Iturrizaga. I have seen many games where he has played this with big success. Here he played with the black pieces. A funny move, yeah, funny move for black. Hint, it's a pawn move, all right? It's a pawn move. Let's see who knows this funny plan. Let me see, something like that and something like this. All right, I'll give you just 1 minute. You're black in this game, by the way. Yeah, don't play b5 this time. No, don't play b5. I don't see how that works. I will take, yeah, in any way. So the first move is a pawn move, guys, all right? First move is a pawn move. Oh, you want to play a3? Only because I said it's a pawn move. No, he kept the pawn on a4. So we had some people who were close, I think, here. Titan Chess, you have seen the first move. Oh, this was not so easy then. Yeah, he has played this for many years, so I guess he knows what he's doing. I have seen Magnus Carlsen. Carlsen used the same idea versus Anand with white ones. No, you can find it with the reverse colors in the. Yeah, it must have been in English then, right? Supposedly. I think, if I'm not misremembering. Yeah, who was closest here? Let's see who was closest. So Ararat, you're kind of closest. Yeah, you could say you're closest. So Magnus Carlsen once used this idea. No, I want requiz. Yeah, it takes too long time, I think. Let me see. Metza Mortis, yeah, you're the winner for sure. Congratulations, Metza Mortis. We do have a winner here. You just played it slightly differently in the end. So please go ahead, Metza. What did black play here? h5. Why on earth would you launch the h pawn in this position? Yeah, some people said f5. I don't think that's correct on this occasion. You're probably just opening up for my pieces. What would I play next here? I don't know. Bishop here, maybe try to start working on the king side. Looks a little shaky. No, even I would consider bishop h6 here, but let's say we stay on d5 with the bishop perhaps. Anyway, or maybe something else. Maybe go back with the bishop and put the rook there or something. So f5 is probably not with the rooks here, right? We talked about that, right? No f5 with rook on c8. I think no. Okay, what else did you say? a3. Yeah, he did not play a3. Well, I guess b4 or knight a4. Maybe this is annoying. So maybe we should just go one step then. All right, we'll go one step and maybe later we can go two steps, I suppose. Safer for now. Please be patient in this opening. Yeah, it's very slow in general. So back to Metza Mortis, h5. All right, what did white play on this occasion? They played in the game rook b1. They're getting ready for b4. Yeah, b5, I also don't understand it. Those of you who said b5, that's completely inexplicable for me. Why would you play b5 if you're just giving away the pawn for free? Makes no sense now. This has to be played in some other situation, but probably not here. Anyway, please continue, Metza. King h7. You could try to do it like this also, but the problem with this is that sometimes I can play maybe bishop h6. Like if I play, yeah. No, it could work also. Yeah, it could work like that. You put the bishop here and you put the queen there. That's what he's going to do in this game, black. I can't do this because that is bishop takes and so on. So I don't know. Maybe I could be smart and play king h1. And then if you play this, I could play that. But then you could go back. So maybe it doesn't make any sense. Yeah. All right. Half a point for queen f8. King h7 was played in the game. They played bishop g5, but winning again. But if b4, please continue. Queen on f8 prepares bishop h6. Oh, I see. But no, he had other plans. He wants to put he's not interested in trading. He just wanted to put a battery like that. and then you want to play knight e6 and you're fighting for the dark square. So that's what he was planning in the game. But it didn't happen because in this game, the white player, Kurukulasuri something, he played instead bishop d5. And now we got to play our favorite trade. All right, anyone? One of our favorite trades. Who can see this coming? You get only 30 seconds. What are we trading? No, he didn't play bishop f6. Sorry, guys, not on this occasion, because then I take on f6 and I move the knight, and you have a problem with the d6 pawn, right? I'm very sorry. I have fooled you here, but it was not on purpose. Yeah, Scalicia, you were not fooled. Tori was not fooled either. We want to trade the bishops, right? And then trade the knight for the other knight. Yeah, like 2 trades to get a good bishop's endgame. Scalicia, you can show us. We would never do this, of course, unless we had this next move. That's what Iturisaga played. Now we move our queen somewhere, and you can see what happens here. And now last move here, putting pressure on the pawn, so that if they go b3, yeah, you can see what will happen next here, right? If I play b3, he did play that? No, he did not play that. Yeah, but there was a problem with b3, right? Now the king is weak, right? So yeah, you could probably take and check and send the rook. Oh, I'm hanging this pawn. Sorry, guys. Sorry. We should play rook a2 instantly, right? Yeah, exactly, like that. And send the other rook. So only black can be better here, of course. Sorry, only black can be better. Even nicer if we had a knight instead of the bishop, but this is still good for black, of course. So yeah, white should not have played bishop d5. They forgot about this. We saw it in the Botvinnik, the first example, if you remember. We saw that today, if you remember. Or maybe you don't remember. We had this on the board today. Let me see very quickly. Where was Botvinnik's game? We talked about this. Somebody said, what if we play bishop d4 after white's move here? And I told you, white could take and play knight e3, right? So it's exactly the same thing, isn't it? Or similar, at least. So it's good to keep in mind now. These trades, we don't exactly want to allow them. So back again to our example. So reverse color, exactly. So yeah, maybe it's a boring example. Yeah, I can speed up a little. Yeah, he played h5, and later on he played king h7, and he brought the queen to h8. Interesting plan. I can't say it always works, but it kind of works here. Yeah. h4 was proposed by some people also. I like that plan also. Maybe that's also possible to play like that. So anyway, let's continue. I think I have maybe one more example. Oh, this is an old example. Yeah, should we look at this one also? Maybe very quickly, all right? We will do this very quickly. Let me see. But you will probably fall asleep by the next example, so we will have to do it very quickly. Okay, so this is really like a typical position. Please notice how the a pawn helps black now. The a4 plan is very useful for black in general because it holds up b4 and also might yield the open a file for counterplay if later b4. Okay, I hope everybody understands what I'm trying to say. So in this game, Jiang versus Ivkov, white played bishop d4, and I think everybody by now, you know the undermine the knight also. Yeah, you're right. Everybody knows black's best reply here, right? Yeah, we talked about this so much now. Titan, Princess, Yugoslavian. Oh, don't come with the h4. Don't take that plan again. Oh, I forgot to say in the other example. Okay, guys, let's come back to the previous example then. Sorry about that. I forgot to comment on bishop f6. We should have talked about that also, of course. Okay. Coming back right now. All right, John Drip and Tori and Chess Crusher and Fianchetto and so on. Yeah, a lot of people got this right. Fianchetto, what was your proposal for black here? What should black play in this position? What about the bishop? Knight e7, of course. This is what we want. We want them to trade. We want to do the trade. If they take, we take back, and later on we want to trade off this also. Did that actually happen in the game? I don't remember. He should have gone back with the bishop, I guess. But it was psychologically difficult if he had just played bishop e3. Probably this was wrong altogether. Now you should play something like rook here and rook there and try to play b4 perhaps. But this is how they played in the game. So black got exactly what they wanted. Yeah, black got exactly what they wanted. And they got a very beautiful endgame. Yeah, maybe we don't need to check this example so far, but so much. But I wanted to see at least that this is the nightmare. Yeah, this is the nightmare endgame for white. So try to avoid this by all costs with this bishop was that knight. I feel like we saw something like this already. Anyway, this is how the game went, and black played a3, and they later on gained space on this side, and they went on to win. Yeah, this was a nice game for black. Okay, this was easy for everybody to understand. Bishop d4, everybody, what should we play here? I'll quiz the moves here for you. Yeah, I think that's enough, right? So we do it only with 15 seconds. And then we can take the last example, which is more entertaining. Okay. But we should talk briefly about the previous example. Yeah, we should talk briefly about the previous one. So